The Raiders are in Miami looking to leave with a winning record. Can the defense stop a high-flying Dolphins offense? And can Aiden O'Connell go blow for blow with Tua? It's all ahead on the Silver and Black Show, starting now. Some heavy hitters on today's show. ESPN's Dan Graziano here to talk about the wide-open AFC. NFL Media's Cameron Wolfe has the inside scoop on the Dolphins. And we sit down with Raiders rookie tight end Michael Mayer. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show. I'm Amber Theoharis. There's a new feeling inside the Raiders organization, and it's one of confidence. They're in second place in the AFC West, which means they're dipping their toe in that wild card territory. Not there just yet, but they've clawed their way back to 500 and are 2-0 under the new regime. Antonio Pierce said, now we build brick by brick. In the next block, it's a step up in weight class. The Miami Dolphins score more points than any other team in the NFL. Holding the Giants and Jets to 12 points or less, that was cool. But two on those boys, they're putting up 31 points a game. This is an opportunity for the Raiders to turn some heads, just like the Texans did last week beating the Bengals on the road. Those upsets have shown us one big win can change the entire narrative in what's becoming a crowded AFC. Let's kick things off with our first guest, ESPN's national NFL insider, Dan Graziano. Dan, welcome into the Silver and Black Show. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Amber. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Let's talk about this AFC big picture, though. Right now, just 2 games separate the 3 seed from the 14 seed. How has the landscape changed? I mean, that's a wide range. How has the landscape changed just over this last week with some of the upsets we saw?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously Houston beating Cincinnati shakes things up. Cincinnati was, they had the slow start to the season, but they were one of the hottest teams going prior to last week. So obviously they were hoping to head into their big, Week 11 Thursday night matchup against Baltimore on a hot streak. Didn't get to do that. So that AFC North, I kind of figured they'll all sort of beat each other up. We'll see what happens with Cleveland now with Deshaun Watson out. But that's going to be tough as they play each other down the stretch. There's no gimmies in that division. But, I think Houston now being in that number 7 spot is interesting. Can they continue to play the way they've played with a young quarterback? C.J. Stroud looks like the real deal. No question about it. But young players, as you know, they go up, they go down. So we'll see how that they manage that over the second half of the season. From the Raiders' standpoint, I mean, they're probably going to have to figure out how to score points at a higher level than they've been able to so far this year. I don't think that's any big secret. But, if are there enough people, you tell me, in that locker room that were there 2 years ago when there was a midseason coaching change and they went on a roll and got to the playoffs? Because that kind of experience, I think, can help fuel something for a team that, as everybody seems to say, has a new energy around.
And they do have the second toughest strength of schedule going forward. So, everybody's being realistic about it. But there is that excitement that you talk about. From the outside looking in, though, what is the opinion of what's happened over this past 2 weeks with the Raiders?
Well, I think, again, it seems like people from the outside look at them and say they look refreshed. They look like there's a new energy around. I actually talked to a couple of Miami Dolphins players this week in preparation for covering the game in Miami on Sunday. And they said, they do look a little different. They look like they have a little pep in their step. Now, whether that continues obviously remains to be seen. Is it a short-term burst? A midseason coaching change gets everyone's attention, whether it was something that you wanted or something that you didn't. It definitely sort of has the effect of waking people up. So do they continue to carry that through? Can they maintain this energy? Can Antonio Pierce be the kind of head coach that not only, injects energy, but maintains everything that comes along with that? Can they continue to play at the level they've played the last couple of weeks over what is still, 8 more weeks of a season?
You talk about Antonio Pierce. I know you were once an NFC East beat guy, and back in the mid-2000s, you probably knew Antonio Pierce. What's your opinion of his early success here as Raiders interim head coach?
Well, where I really got to know Antonio Pierce is when he was working at ESPN, and we used to do NFL Live and other shows together. So I knew him after his playing career. And always enjoyed that. Look, I mean, when people say energy, I'm not surprised. I mean, the man obviously loves football. I'm not surprised that he's thrown himself into coaching. I'm not surprised to see him getting this level of opportunity and And from a personal standpoint, as someone who knows him and likes him, I hope he does extremely well with it. We'll see. I think I went through this last year. Jeff Saturday, who I worked with on Get Up, got the head coach job of the Indianapolis Colts halfway through the season. So I watched him go through that, and they won their first game, and then he didn't win again. Obviously, Antonio's already done better than that. And he comes into it. It's not a one-for-one comparison. He comes into it with obviously a lot more NFL coaching experience than Jeff did. So I think it's interesting. I think it'll be, what can he do? What can he delegate? What can he bring in terms of a tone setter? I think a lot of the head coach's job is to establish and articulate the vision of what you want the team to be. And the extent to which the players buy into that will determine his success, as it does with any other head coach. So far, so good, at least it looks like from here.
Well, he was very decisive about naming Aiden O'Connell the quarterback, at least going forward for this year. Aiden faced a very tough Jets pass defense last week. What were your takeaways from the rookie's first 2 starts? Well, 3 starts, but the last 2 that you've seen.
I mean, he doesn't look like the moment's too big for him, which is significant, right? I mean, he comes from a highly competitive level in the Big Ten, and I think it's not surprising that, he's been there on the bench for half a season learning. He got the 1 start early in the season, so that when they put him back in here a couple of games ago, it wasn't, too big of a shock for him. So, what does he have to work on? He's supposed to be a developmental player at this point in his career, right? So now he's tasked, as many young quarterbacks are, with developing on the job. And how does he do that? How do they lean into what he does well and mitigate the things that he still has to work on as a young player? I think that's obviously a big part of this. And I think what we see is basically, I mean, at a basic level, let's get the run going behind Josh Jacobs, a guy who led the league in rushing last year. We know we can count on that no matter who the quarterback is. Let's see if we can get the ball to Devontae Adams, who's a difference maker down the field, a matchup beater in every single way. And so I think if you start with those kinds of building blocks, you have a situation where a young quarterback has a chance to be successful.
Yeah, Jacobs told O'Connell, when you're in doubt, just hand me the ball. I'll handle it from there.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good game plan. For the second time this season, a Raider is a Defensive Player of the Week. Robert Spillane has quietly become one of the best linebackers, especially in coverage this season. How important will it be for the Raiders, that linebacking core, their defense, to control the middle of the field where the Dolphins have been very dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, this is as tough a test as it gets, right? With coming off a bye, probably the fastest team in the league, a team that literally scored 70 points against an AFC West opponent earlier this year. I mean, they're going to have to be pretty much perfect on defense. I think the key thing, when you've seen the Dolphins struggle this year, the key thing has been the defense's ability to disrupt the timing of this offense. It's so based on timing. It's so based on, Tua and his footwork, and that being married to the routes and all that. And when the first read isn't there, that's when you start to see Tua struggle a little bit. So I think up front, Max Crosby and the crew up front has to get after Tua and rattle him and get him out of his preferred timing. And yes, you're absolutely right. The coverage in the middle of the field, the coverage down the field is going to have to be on point, because, if you talk about a Tyreek Hill or a Jalen Waddle catching the ball on, say, a slant route in the middle of the field, and you're not there to bring them down, it's going to be a while before you see that ball again.
It sounds so simple, but tackling is also going to be an issue. It has been for the Raiders, even though it's gotten a little bit better. Jack Jones, they got him off of waivers from the Patriots, didn't work out. Got a little bit of depth in the secondary. We don't know what we'll see from him. But what's just your take on his opportunity? Not everybody fits in New England, and now he's with Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I think, look, it's certainly worth a shot. It's obviously somebody that the Raiders felt positively about. They wanted to make the waiver claim and bring him in. You mentioned they're a team that could use some help on the back end of the defense. Most teams are. But yeah, sometimes that change of scenery is a real thing. This is a guy that was a 4th round pick just 2 years ago. So he's obviously got some ability, and we'll see what they can get out of him, because obviously, New England decided for whatever reason that they weren't going to be the team to do it. But the Raiders obviously see something in him, or else they wouldn't have picked him up.
If there's one thing that you could say the Raiders need to do to win this game, how do they win this game?
I think the key is going to be disrupting the timing of Tua Tagovailoa and that Miami Dolphins offense. If you can move Tua around, if you can rattle him, if you can make sure his first read is not available to him, then I think you get in a situation where you can keep the Dolphins from scoring, 30 or 40, right? I don't know that the Raiders right now, as they're constituted, are equipped to win a shootout against the Miami Dolphins. So I think the key is going to be to find a way to limit the explosiveness of their offense. And I think the best way to do that will be to disrupt the quarterback. I think, Max Crosby is a player that I think I and a lot of other people watching this game will have a close eye on to see how good he is at making his presence felt and disrupting the Dolphins offense.
Dan Graziano, thanks so much for coming on, dropping a little knowledge on us. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
All right, coming up on the Silver and Black Show, he made headlines last week by mossing the Jets secondary. What's next? For the Raiders rookie tight end, we sit down with Michael Mayer. The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. 1800, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders.
Here it is at 22. Rodgers. He's picked! And this is going to the house. Jack Jones with the pick six.
He just read the route and ran it for Lazard. It's a comeback. And Rodgers trying to throw it on time and in rhythm.
What we talked about every day in our room is competition, right? And just keep getting better and better. And whatever we can do to better the team, we're going to do, right? And here's a player that's extremely gifted, is a ball-hawking cornerback, gives us some flexibility in other positions as well. And he'll just be another asset to that room.
For the full interview of Antonio Pierce with JT the Brick, visit Raiders.com or the official Raiders YouTube page. Rookie tight end Michael Mayer got his first NFL touchdown last week against the Jets, and we want to talk about what's coming up for the future. Good to have you here, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, that first touchdown, who did you give the ball to? Because last time I talked to you, you had the ball with you.
So, after the game, found it in my locker. My guy Kobe got it for me, which was very nice of him. So I took it home, and it's at my house right now. I don't know whether I should write something on it, like the date or first touchdown or something, but I got it. It's in my possession, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. I think you should ask somebody what you should do with it before you mark it up.
Before
That's
I do
just some advice. You said that pass from Aiden O'Connell was a beautiful ball. You said he put it only where I could get it. Is that where you have an advantage in this game in the red zone with those contested balls?
100%. I really do think since high school and in college, I would always tell my quarterback, just throw it up where only I can get it. Just throw. And I was half joking, but honestly, there's some truth to it. Like, if you throw a good ball like Aiden did there, and it kind of gives me a chance to get to the ball before the defender can get to the ball, it increases my chances to catch it dramatically.
It would take a big corner or someone with a big vertical to be able to go up and take one from you. So that's great advice to your quarterback. We saw the offensive captains like Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs after the game dancing in the locker room. It was such a joyous feeling. What has the vibe been this entire week?
You want to play for good leaders, for people that bring good energy, for people that bring good positive vibes. And that's what we have in our locker room right now, from the top down, really. And we're kind of enjoying it. We're playing to the best of our ability, and we're having fun doing it out there. And you can see it in Josh. You can see it in Tay. I think Aiden's starting to come around a little bit. He's always so calm, cool, and collected. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to see you scream or get angry or do this or do that, and he never does. He's the same person all day long, so it's been very fun.
Well, let's talk about Aiden, because we don't really know him. He's pretty quiet. He's pretty stoic, but you guys drafted together. You're going to be on this journey together. We're starting to see that connection on the field. What have you learned about him in the time that you've known him now?
He's number one, he just wants to learn. He wants to get better at all times. And secondly, the dude lives in this building. He doesn't leave. He's here all day long. He's walking through stuff with Fred. He's walking through stuff with his coaches, and he's constantly trying to get better. He's constantly trying to learn more, and just kind of have a rage of fire in him of more and more and more. And he's got the greatest work ethic of all time, and it's good to see. As your starting quarterback, you want that. You want to be able to see that. You want to see him in the facility. You don't want to see him leaving early or coming in late, things like that.
You guys are navigating this rookie year together, and it's been a unique one because a regime change, both GM and coach, in the middle of the season is not common. Mm-hmm. How have you guys navigated it? Who has helped you? Who have you leaned on?
We've had each other. I think the entire rookie class, but also the entire team. We've had each other. We've rallied around each other. We're in this together. Like, you know, there's no reason why we shouldn't be in this together, and we are. And that's kind of why, you know, I feel like, you know, we're 5-5 now. We're sitting at 500. We're 2-0 past 2 games, and we feel good about ourselves. We have great energy, and we want to play for each other. We want to win for each other, play for AP, win for AP, and everybody in the organization, and that's our goal right now.
You're emerging as a playmaker, and I know you've said you still have a lot to learn, but you are emerging as a playmaker. What has helped you the most in progressing as a tight end in the NFL? Because I've covered a lot of rookie tight ends. It is not a position where you see a lot of breakout performances.
It's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit that. It's definitely not easy, but I find myself, the more this season goes along, the easier the offense goes for me, the easier, you know, making plays becomes, because I'm so more comfortable and I have more confidence in myself, and I got more confidence in Aiden too, that he's going to give me the ball, put it where I need to be put, and things like that. So it's about really keeping my head down, working hard, trusting Aiden, trusting the coaches, and you know, everything's going to work out.
You have a really mature perspective. You have that confidence mixed with the humble nature. Where do you get that from at just 22 years old?
I would say my parents, my family. I got a big family. I got 4 siblings. I got an older brother that played football, and I've been through it all with them. And my parents have been through my side through, you know, this all too. This season, the draft. You know, the past 8 to 10 months has been pretty crazy, not going to lie. So it's good to have them by me. They've been by my side through everything.
Let me guess, are you the youngest in the birth order?
Second youngest.
See, it's always the youngest
Younger
ones
sister,
are the toughest
and then
ones.
three olders, yeah.
That's right. That explains a lot. All right, you're going for 3 in a row now under Antonio Pierce. You said in a post-game interview that you enjoyed the intent around the practice facility. What did you mean by intent?
Doing the things right all the time, no matter what. The intention of, okay, am I going to take this rep off? No, you're not allowed, because the 10 other people that are in there with you aren't going to allow that. That's leadership. That's good intentions. That's the intent of being positive, the intent of bringing energy to practice and enjoying it and enjoying each other's presence and things like that. Is sort of what I was talking about. Like, it doesn't always have to happen, but you can come with an intent, and you can come and try to be positive and to bring energy and to be happy.
I love that. It's like everything has a purpose,
yep.
Right? Whatever you do, it has a purpose. It seems like Bo Hardegree, the new interim offensive coordinator, really recognizes how many weapons are on this offense. What is this offense's potential? Because I feel like we just saw a glimpse, and there's so much more meat on this bone.
Yep, there's a lot. There's a lot. And I think Bo has done a fantastic job so far of really spreading the ball out. As you can see, when we kind of spread the ball out, we really get the ball moving downfield. And we really put the defenses in a tough spot, and Bo's done a great job of that. And so we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep spreading the ball and, you know, keep trying to score as many points as we can. You know, the red zone first half of the season was a little bit up and down, and we're trying to, you know, keep a steady path up in the red zone.
Just throw it up to you, though. That's the plan.
If
telling him.
If he's got nowhere else to go and the defender's coming, please throw it up to me.
I'm just having fun with it. You face Miami on the road. This is a big road game.
Tough
Everybody
one.
talks about Miami's offense, but you've been looking at film of the defense. What do you see from this defense?
Yeah, they're a good defense. They're a good defense. You know, in games when we really get our run game going, we look at ourselves and we ask ourselves, what are we doing in those games? We're getting a hat on a hat. We're communicating, the quarterback's communicating the mic point. We're going here, we're going there, we're going left, we're going right. And that's really what we need to do. We need to communicate. We can't let anybody run through. We got to get a hat on a hat, and we got to know what we're doing. We got a lot of different fronts. They'll move, they'll stem, things like that. We really got to know who we're going to and know what we're doing and be confident in that.
Well, Michael, it's been an impressive rookie year so far. We can't wait to see what you do in the second half of the season.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Coming up, the Dolphins are supposed to be an AFC contender, but can the Raiders prove otherwise? NFL Media's Cameron Wolfe is standing by. He's next on the Silver and Black Show. The Raiders face a Dolphins team that has dropped 2 of their last 3 games, but still they boast one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL. Miami will be a big test as the upstart Raiders are out to prove they can compete with the AFC elite. And to help us break down this matchup, we say hello to NFL media reporter Cameron Wolfe, who is he's based in Florida, so he knows a thing or two about the Dolphins, covering that team. Cameron, good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And you know what? I say AFC elite, and I know they're leading the AFC East right now. The Dolphins are, but they've struggled against real contenders, against winning teams. They've lost to the Eagles and the Chiefs recently. Where are they falling short?
The big thing is they've struggled on the road. All three of those losses that they've had this season have been in Buffalo against the Bills when they were considered an elite team, in Philly against the Eagles, and even in Germany versus the Chiefs, which was a pro-Chiefs environment. Their offense has struggled to travel on the road, and they've struggled to face the physicality of those really good defensive lines. And so when we see them against the teams below 500, they're putting up plenty of points. They scored 70 against the Broncos, but when they face those elite teams, those questions still remain. And so I know the Dolphins get a little annoyed with the narrative they can't beat good teams, but the facts are the facts. And right now they are a good team who's yet to prove if they're great yet.
And they're back from Germany. They're going to be at home where they haven't lost all year. They're coming off a bye. What is the temperature inside that locker room right now? What are we hearing?
Yeah, I think everybody's upbeat. Everybody feels refreshed. They had to buy at the right time. Cross-country trip to Germany takes a lot out of you. But they look back and they say, we're 6-3. We're in first place in the AFC East. The Bills look like they're heading in the wrong direction. The Jets are trying to make way without Aaron Rodgers, and the Patriots are going straight into the toilet. So they're looking at themselves and say, we are in good positioning right now. We are in a spot where, with all our warts, with all our questions about us against good teams, we're still in a position to not only win our division, but potentially get one of the top 2 or 3 seeds in the AFC. And so I think they're in good spirits. They're getting healthy at the right time. They should welcome back one of their key playmakers, Theoharis, back this week, and their defense is starting to plug away. So I think there's a lot of optimism in that Miami locker room.
Yeah, you bring up Achane. Man, that rookie has been amazing. And right now the Dolphins have a top 3 rushing offense without him the past couple of games. So how do you expect that matchup with the Raiders defense that has struggled against a run? How will Mike McDaniel use these backs?
Often. Achane was tremendous when he was playing. His speed kind of completes what they call a 4x4 track team in Miami. You got Tyreek Hill, who confuses you with the motion, Jalen Waddle, who can beat you with the yak, and then you got Raheem Mostert and Achane in the backfield. Look, they were the best running team in football when Achane was there. He was averaging about 125 yards a game, and I think that he's going to come back immediately and take a role as sort of the 1A, 1B with Raheem Mostert in that backfield, and it gives you more to worry about as a defense. Their big thing is speed, and so when you have 4 speed guys on the field one time, it makes it hard for a defensive coordinator to figure out who do we send the extra attention to. How do you double Tyreek Hill when you have another 4-3, 4-2 guy on the field? And so Mike McDaniel loves to create conflict for defenses, and I know Patrick Graham is definitely spending some extra hours this week trying to control that speed.
Yeah, and he's also going to try to stop Tua Tagovailoa, who is one of the statistical best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. He's also one of the least sacked in the NFL. What is it going to look like with Max Crosby and the Raiders pass rush going up against what's been a really good offensive line for the Dolphins?
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of respect for Max Crosby in this building. That was the first name that came out of Mike McDaniel's mouth when we talked to him earlier this week, and same for Tua Tagovailoa. They have been watching tape all day, all week on Max Crosby. They know he can disrupt this game. Some of the coaches just kind of remarked about how durable and how relentless he is. He's played like 98% of the snaps this season, which is unreal for a defensive lineman, and they're going to send extra help to his side for sure. They picture him as the guy you circle game plan wise and say, we can't let this guy wreck the game. The thing for the Dolphins is Tua gets the ball out of his hand extremely quickly, so much that I talk to defensive coordinators who've just been frustrated and like, we can send the blitz and we still might not get home. He leads the NFL in time to throw. And so the Raiders, if they're going to have success, need to press those receivers at the line of scrimmage and get Tua off his first read, disrupt his timing, and give Max a little bit of time to get home and to the quarterback. And if he does, they might be able to have some success against this offense.
You call them a 4x4 track team. If you had the final leg, it would be Tyreek Hill of that track team. But in those 2 losses, he was held to 88 yards or less. And so how does this Raiders secondary do the same?
Yeah, you're going to have to send a lot of extra coverage. When you look at the different formulas teams have had, the Patriots put an extra safety over top of them to try to give them extra coverage. When you look at what the Chiefs did last week, they played a lot of press man coverage. They used their two corners, L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, and essentially pressed them and also had a safety over the top as well. And so I'd imagine you see the Raiders doing some compilation of that. It's really going to test their corners. I'm not sure if they'll have Marcus Peters follow them or if they'll do a little bit of letting both corners get a shot at them, but you're going to need physicality. That's been the one thing that has been able to slow down the Dolphins' speed. They do use a lot of motion pre-snap to try to get those receivers on the move and get them away from those cornerbacks. But if you can find a way to still get hands on them within that 5 yards and disrupt that timing, then you got a chance.
Okay, so on the flip side, we saw what Eagles receiver A.J. Brown did a few weeks ago to this Dolphins defense, but guess who didn't play in that game? Xavier Howard or Jalen Ramsey, and both will be out there. Who has the edge? It's going to be an exciting matchup. Davante Adams and the Raiders receivers, the guys like Michael Mayer that have been coming along up against that secondary.
Now, I can't wait for this one. In fact, I talk to Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard regularly in the locker room, and they get up for matchups like this. You got a guy like Davante Adams on the other side who's a bona fide top 3 receiver. Some may say he's the best receiver in football. And regardless of what's going on with his numbers as the quarterback situation has fluctuated, I think he's remained consistently a guy people fear. And so I think you'll see them give him a lot of respect, send him some extra coverage to his side. Even though they have good corners in Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, I don't think you'll see a lot of one-on-one coverage. They play a lot of zone coverage, and so you'll see some safeties clouding on there. I'm eager to see how they exploit the slot position because teams have really shied away from throwing at Jalen Ramsey since he's come back, and Xavier Howard has shown that you can't throw at him either. The one area where they've had some success, teams has been throwing in the slot against their slot cornerback, Kader Kohou. And so whoever the Raiders move into the slot may be the guy they can try to target and exploit this Dolphins defense the most.
Oh, maybe Hunter Renfrow or even Davante could be in the slot. 25 points a game this defense gives up for the Dolphins. It's going to be tough for the Raiders to get in a shooting match with Tua Tagovailoa. I think that would probably be the worst situation for the Raiders. How can they keep pace? Does it come down to Josh Jacobs?
I think they got to control the tone early. And yes, that is Josh Jacobs. When you look at the Dolphins and a lot of their games early in the season, they have a propensity to come out slow or come out very hot. And so if you get them slow, you can jump on them and you can get them to a position where they become one-dimensional offense, where they're only throwing the ball, and then you can establish your run. They have shown an ability to stop the run in spurts, but if you start to lean on them, they don't have the depth on the defensive line to be able to hang with a run-heavy team for 4 quarters. And so if the Raiders can get an early lead, start to get Josh Jacobs rolling, and that could be a situation where they can control the line of scrimmage, control time of possession, and make this their game. You know how the Dolphins always talk about this being a track meet, their style. Well, the Raiders, if they can make it physical, they can make it ugly, they can control the ball, and they can change it to their style of game, and that gives them a shot.
Cameron, you're awesome. It's great to talk to you. So much information. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing this matchup.
Appreciate you. Should be a fun one.
All right, so to come, who is Bo Hardegree? We take a closer look at the Raiders' interim offensive coordinator next in One Last Thing. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead. Time now for One Last Thing. How many of you knew the name Bo Hardegree 2 weeks ago? Admit it, some of us had to look him up. I did. He's the Raiders' interim offensive coordinator, and 2 games into his tenure, the former quarterbacks coach who never called plays before at any level deserves a little credit. The Raiders' offense definitely isn't blowing the top off of defenses, but they did move the chains effectively against a top 6 Jets defense last week. And now the Raiders are establishing a logical blueprint. Run first, hit Davante next, use the big tight end Michael Mayer in the red zone. If you wonder where this genius game plan came from, listen in.
This week they let me get involved in, calling a run. So throughout the week, I was peeking all the runs that I liked. And, I was talking to the offensive line about how they felt about the run. So when we got a chance to, I sat down with them and I was like, when we get a chance to run these in the game, we got to make them work. We want to get them called. We got to make them work.
It's been a lot of fun because, he's asked a million questions of things that I want to run, similar to what he did with Josh in the run game. So for me, it's just, going out, running the routes, getting a good feel for what I want to do and being able to give him something, legit feedback so that, he can have a good idea of what he wants to call in the game, based off our comfort level. So when you can work like that, it makes it really constructive.
That's what it's all about. It's just constant communication, even when the everything's going good or when you face adversity. That's the important thing, is you're always talking.
So far, it's working. Last week against the Jets, Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams were either the intended receiver or rusher in 42 out of 64 offensive plays. That's 66% of the entire game plan. Bo Hardegree is putting the ball in his playmakers' hands, and Hardegree knows a few things about playmakers. Check this resume. He was an offensive coach in Denver in 2014 when Peyton Manning was top 2 in touchdowns thrown that year. Only Andrew Luck was better. Fast forward to the 2016 Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill was the best red zone quarterback in the NFL. Guess who was his quarterback's coach? Yeah, it was that guy, Bo Hardegree. And Mac Jones had a Pro Bowl caliber rookie year with the Patriots in 2021. The year Bo Hardegree was an offensive assistant in New England. Successful coaches aren't made overnight. And it's clear the Raiders' new interim offensive coordinator is ready for this new opportunity. He has a chance to help lead the Raiders on an unlikely run. And it starts with finding out if his unit can exchange blows with a fast-paced Dolphins offense this Sunday. That'll do it for us. Kickoff set for 10 a.m. Pacific from Hard Rock Stadium. It's Raiders-Dolphins. We're going to see you right back here after the game for Raiders Game Day. Have a great weekend, everyone.